Welcome to Startup Climb, where we bring you interviews with startup founders. Through this podcast, we hope to go behind the curtains to find out where it all begins. This is an inside look on their journey, their struggles, and how they overcome adversity. On this episode, we have Wong Lei, co-founder of Ottodot. Ottodot is an edtech startup that seeks to redesign science education for primary school learners through technology. Welcome, Wong Lei. Hi, Wong Lei.
Hi.
For listeners that might not know of Ottodot and your team, could you share a little bit more about what you do there?
Okay, sure. So Ottodot, we are a social learning platform for primary school students. Our aim is to make learning science really fun, effective, and engaging for the kids. Yeah.
Right. So, how do you stumble across this concept? And what was the problem that you identified?
I would say we didn't wake up one night and then realize that, okay, we want to build a platform for this age group and this is how we're going to build it. It was really a lot of testing, a lot of failures, a lot of rejections. So first, we actually started with the idea that we need to make learning fun for kids because we see that they are no longer curious. I think it's very obvious when you talk to primary school students, when they reach about the age of primary 5, so that's 11 years old, they no longer have the spark in their eyes. When they talk to them about learning, right, it's very dead. And so we started, my co-founder and myself, we wanted to tackle this problem. How can we make learning really fun, really engaging, and then these kids are really curious and they're really excited to learn. So then we actually started with designing hands-on mission boxes. We design the activities, we laser cut, and then we design and we print them out, and we have an entire box along with videos for them to follow. And then we test out with student care centers. It was great with the students, but no student care center wanted to pay us. So from there, we move on to organizing workshop, and then we realized parents want their kids to learn well, but then they want their kids to learn very well to be able to tackle exams. Okay, so that was another rejection. So then from there, we move on to, okay, is it possible to ever make revising for exam fun? So that's when we actually started to take all the exam papers and then figure out a way to make it fun. So what we did was we asked the students to come to our class, and then we gave them a series of activities. For all the activities, they will be asked to record a video to talk about their thought process and to share what they are thinking, what they are learning, and to teach other kids. And this really went very well with the kids because most of them want to be a YouTuber. And it's the first time, I think, for them to have someone give them the full control of their learning in a class. But most importantly, to the parents, it was effective as well because we had one student jump from 48 to 80 out of 100 for his science in school. So that was a real improvement, and that was only across 6 weeks. Yeah, and all our students scored above 85. So from there, we took the things we have built in our classrooms, and then we started to build a platform where kids can learn and then record their own videos to teach other kids at home. Yeah, so actually we are a very early stage startup. We only made that pivot last year, November. Yeah.
Right. But would it be a lot of work for the kid itself? Because on top of their normal school homework, they have this recording video thing. Are parents very open to that?
Yeah, actually that's a very, very, very good question. So no, parents don't really enjoy this idea because they have the exact same concern as you do. Why do I want my kids to spend so much time recording videos? And it is true that the kids would spend more time because they really love this process. So then they naturally want to spend more time to make it good, even redo it sometimes. Yeah. So because of that, then we added other features onto our platform, where that's when we started to add on the quizzes, bringing in the open-ended questions from science papers, so past year papers, exam papers, onto our platform as quizzes, where the students can also practice. Yeah.
Right. But why science? Why do you start with science in particular? Because I guess there are other subjects out there that are quite content heavy as well, like history or like literature. So like, why do you choose science to start with?
First, we wanted to focus on the age of 7 to 12. I think in the edtech space, whenever we talk to investors, they will say that they will ask us why we choose this age group, because this age group is not the age group that will bring us the most revenue. Like either you go younger, like kindergarten, or you go older, like tertiary level. So for us, we chose this age group because we feel that this is really the age where they decide whether they enjoy learning or not. So from there, we chose this age group. Then from there, because we have to look at what subjects they are learning in school. So there's English, math, science, and mother tongue in Singapore, right? For us, because my co-founder and I are engineers, so naturally we gravitate towards math and science. And then you can see that in the market, there are tons of math platforms. No one's really tackling science. Right. Why? Because it's more challenging. Math, you have a fixed answer. Like either the answer is like 12 or it's not 12. That's just that. But science is, for example, I'm asking you, can you explain why the wax on the iron nail will melt? How you write it, how you phrase it, there can be a lot of different ways. Yeah. So we wanted to choose a very difficult problem to tackle. Yeah. And then I think for me personally is, I believe science is really, really, really important, because what's behind science is the whole idea of inquiry, right? How do we even have this subject to begin with? It's because we look around us and then we started to have questions like, why is there steam? What happens to the steam after it rises? So these are all questions that we naturally had, and then we wanted to figure them out. So then we study them, and that becomes a subject called science. So how can we not have kids be very good and in the subject, and that they have this spirit of inquiry from a very young age? If you don't know how to ask questions, right, what will you be when you grow up and you go into society? Yeah.
But I'm just a little bit curious, because I think you mentioned that your background was in engineering. So what made you swap from engineering to education?
I ask myself that sometimes too. Okay, so a bit of background. So I studied civil engineering and I graduated from NTU in 2018. So my co-founder, she studied computer science. And then we both graduated with a master in technology management. So why did we jump to education? To me, it was really I was just following the flow as I go. Sometimes I really feel very I'll stumble at this question, because there wasn't really a point in time where I decided that okay, I'm gonna quit engineering. I'm just gonna do build a startup. There wasn't really such a time. Yeah, it was really when I was just testing out different things, going from one idea, following one curiosity that I have, and I just keep going in the direction, and then I end up where I am right now. Yeah, and I feel like a lot of my peers who study engineering, they are doing a lot of things that are different from what they studied, and I think that's just it is the way it is. But I'm very grateful for my engineering training, because it has made me a very systematic person. I think the way I think is very much shaped by the education I had in school. And you can see, the engineering training that I had.
So do you start Ottodot in school? Like because you said you and your co-founder graduated like about the same time. So like, do you start this idea in school?
Oh yeah. So actually my co-founder and I were course mates, and then we were roommates for 2 years. So we've known each other for about like 6 years by now. So we started in the last semester before we graduate. And then basically she asked me to join her to start a program. It was totally different. It was basically like teaching kids entrepreneurship. Because it's the whole idea of really tackling a problem and then figuring out how to do it and test it out and get feedback and get rejected, of course. Yeah, then from there we actually really kept changing based on the feedback we get. And then there was one point we decided, okay, what we are doing is totally different from what we started out to do. And there was a lot of potential. So we decided to incorporate and do it full time when we graduate. So from us starting was in August. And then we are incorporated. So I graduated in December. And it was in December that we decided we're going to do it full time once we graduate. And then in April, we incorporated. Yeah.
Was there a lot of like pushback from like your family or like your friends? Because like, I mean, after graduating with a university degree, like I would assume that most families would want like to find a job, right? So like, was there a lot of pushback?
Yes, a lot. That's a great question. I come from a background where my family is not the richest. So I have actually received financial aid since secondary school. And then even in university, I had scholarship. So my family would really benefit if I actually go out to have a job. Yeah, so naturally then I was choosing a path that was very different from what they wanted me to. And it was, I think, they had the expectation that, okay, you study so hard, you got a scholarship in university, then you graduate with a master's, and also I graduated as valedictorian for my program. So naturally they thought I could go and apply for a job and I could get very good pay. And that's safe. Like, why do you choose something that's not safe? And then on top of that, my family felt that as a girl, I should not tire myself out like this. Yeah. Yeah. So there was a lot of pushback from my family, from even my siblings. But I think my fiance has really supported me whenever I had all those pushbacks. I think sometimes even the response from my friends are quite mixed. I wouldn't say that they don't support me. They actually have been really supportive, but they do find it puzzling why I chose this path sometimes. So sometimes in the beginning, at least, like when they ask those questions, like, oh, actually, why do you do this? Like in that moment, I'll be like, how do I explain? It's difficult. Sometimes it feels a bit too tiring to explain. Yeah. So, but I think now it's a lot better. I think my family is understanding it a lot more, like where I come from and what do I want to achieve with this. Yeah.
But do you like set a timeline for yourself? Like, let's say I'm going to give myself 2 years to and my like full-time commitment to this project, this startup. And if in 2 years it does not succeed, then I'm just going to move on. Was there a timeline set for yourself?
Yeah. I set, like what you say, I set a 2 years timeline. So actually right now it's at the 1.5 year mark. But I have decided to push it back another 2 years, because it's impossible that by the end of this year I know for sure whether this will work out. And to me, it's how to say, can I say in Chinese?
Yeah, sure.
我不甘心.
Oh, right.
Yeah, like if end of this year, even if things are not as great as I would want it to be, I don't think I will give up, because 不甘心. So I will give myself 2 years more to make this work.
Right. So I would like to check if like are you currently on any investment funding, or are you looking for investors?
So far we have been bootstrapping. We have the grant, the startup founder grant from Enterprise Singapore. And otherwise we've been bootstrapping. Right. So right now we're actually actively talking to investors and trying to raise angel round.
Right.
Yeah.
So like I think you mentioned earlier that you are bootstrapping. So how do you choose to allocate resources when you first start? Like, was there any particular area, like for example, like marketing or like product development, that you focus like the resources on?
We chose to prioritize in putting our resources in testing. So I think one good thing about the field of education is that whatever you want to build, the product side actually can be very low cost. If you think about it, a lot of things you want to build, you can test it in a very cheap way. So we always wanted to build a platform, but we didn't want to just invest in the tech. So we actually put it into a classroom and test out all the features that we want. So in that way, it's very low cost. So then we prioritize our resources in terms of marketing and acquiring customers. Yeah.
Right. But your target audience currently would be like parents lah, like when they like their kids are at their age group, that this will be sort of like an enrichment for them to not only increase their science results, but actually spark the curiosity and the joy of learning.
Yeah.
But would you then eventually move on to like selling this product to schools to try to get it into like mainstream education, where this becomes an integral part of like STEM education?
That would be the dream, really. We have tried. We tried talking to schools whether they'll be interested in working with us and use our platform in school with their students. It's been really slow, and they have some concerns because we are asking the students to record videos and then sharing it on our platform, and then other students can like and then they can comment on their video. So essentially, it's like YouTube, right, in school. And then naturally, there are a lot of concerns like what if there's bullying? What about PDPA concerns? What if one kid just says something that it's a little bit insensitive and some other parent sees it? How do you verify? So it's been really challenging for us actually to go into schools. Yeah, so that's something that we're still working on.
Would like all these concerns like be solved if you do like an sort of an in-house network or like a intranet thing where it's just like within the school, so like everyone in that community be just like people from that particular school, and like maybe like adding in like some chat ban filter or like to filter all like the rude words or like stuff like that?
We suggested this is possible on our platform. So I think the teachers are even looking at not even just a school, not just a level, but like a class itself, that level of isolation.
Right.
But I think in general, because teachers are having quite a lot of headache sometimes dealing with what like parents' feedback. So naturally quite hesitant to add on another thing that can potentially bring them some of these issues. So it's been quite challenging to convince them, even with that feature.
Right. So I would like to move a little bit towards like current situation. So like I think currently with the whole COVID situation, it affected many businesses. So like I would like to know, how has your business been like impacted?
I would say we are fortunate because being in the online learning space, this is in fact an opportunity for us. So to be fair, when the news came out that there will be a circuit breaker, we were actually quite excited because we know that the tuition centers will have to close, so then they would need solutions for them to go digital. And also parents will be looking for online learning solutions. So we were very excited that a few weeks. But slowly, in fact, very quickly, actually, we realized that we are not that ready to be able to take on that wave. So from now, how I look at it is, it felt a bit like a sugar rush. Like you get really high, and then you come crashing down. So right now, we're at a stage where, okay, we're just going to continue building in the direction that we are building towards. And if there are opportunities that comes along the way, we will try to leverage on it and to serve those that would need our solution, but we will not be too opportunistic and go crazy the sugar rush again. Yeah. So I think, but objectively speaking, I think adoption has really accelerated with the parents, because previously we also launched online classes, but the response was really very lackluster.
Right.
But now parents are reaching out to us to ask us whether we have online classes. Like Zoom, from being an unknown tool when we used it last year, is now like the household name. So it's really different. So I think it's things are definitely changing. Adoption will definitely is still picking up and will definitely continue, at least for this year. So I think it's looking quite optimistic for us.
Right. So like, was there any like product change that you felt needed to be made? Because like with this whole new like wave of inquiry, do you feel like, hey, there are some ways that I need to tweak this product? And like, were there anything that you changed like in the product itself?
Any things that I mentioned? Yes. So like what I said previously, we were focused on getting the students to record videos and then share it. So then this would require us to educate our customers why this is effective for learning. And then we add on quizzes. So right now, because we realize that a lot of parents, they are looking for online classes, live streaming classes or videos for their kids to watch and learn at home. So we have changed our platform such that we can host live streaming classes. We can also host videos to serve this like customer requests. Yeah. And then we're also building on so this is something that's more in the works, quizzes that are more interactive to prepare our platform for the next phase where we will launch an automated grading system. Yeah, but that's a bit longer term.
Right. But in science, I think like because I was looking at your website, you tend to focus more on like the open-ended questions where there are like multiple ways to answer the questions. And then like in your answer scheme, there's also like this keyword segment where like you put like, hey, these are like the important words that you need to have in your answer. Right. So like how scalable would it be then? Because it sounds like it's quite a lot of work for one question, but like maybe like for graduating primary school student where they have to take national exams, they might want like an intensive practice. Would it be very scalable, like to just keep adding on questions, or do you feel like you're quite limited by that?
So your question is whether having questions is scalable.
Like having open-ended questions is scalable because you have to have like multiple variations of an answer and stuff like that.
Right now, we don't find it an issue because right now what we have on our platform are only 1 year of questions. So we are still in the process of adding more questions. So we have built tools for us to be way faster with editing questions and adding and tagging questions to put it out onto our platform. So we have tools to help us with that. Also, we have tools to make like picking up the keywords an automated process. So that's not really an issue. We are still looking at how we can, based on existing questions, be able to churn out new questions as well. But that's more of a R&D stage right now. Yeah. But I think from a user perspective, the users are very used to questions actually being repeated. I mean, that's why we do 10-year series, right? We hope that questions will be repeated. So if it comes to be that the user realizes that, oh, okay, this question I've done before, I think they will actually find that a good thing because then they feel that they can do it and then they can test on themselves on how well they actually really understand. So it's not really too much of a concern right now. Yeah.
Right. What do you feel make your product unique as compared to like the other learning tools out there? Because I think like there are some other softwares that do like sort of like make learning fun, right? So like how are you unique compared to the other tools out there?
So I would say in Singapore, there are other big learning platforms like for example, Coolbits, they focus on math. There's Genie Book, they are a smart assessment tool, so they have a lot of questions and they have videos, as well as Superstar Teacher. So they've been around for I think at least a decade, and you can see them is popular. Yeah. So how they are like is that they have a curriculum team. They would develop their own series of videos, a series of questions. And then as a learner, you will log on and then you will watch the videos. They will do the questions. What we want to do differently is that we don't want to be the one to develop all the content and then we just push it out to you and then you just watch as a learner. Because that to us is a totally outdated form of learning. What we want to do is we have people who are very passionate about learning. They join us to create a very short 30 seconds to 1 minute video to talk about one concept and then issue a challenge. And then other students will come on, watch this video, and make their own video in response to this challenge. So in this way, we are not the only one that's developing content. The students are also developing content, and they are flipping the whole table of learning. they are the one also teaching. Yeah, so that's, I think, is the main difference from other platforms. Yeah.
Right. Right. I'd like to go a little bit into like reflection. So like let's talk about like what was your greatest struggle thus far, like running Ottodot, and like how do you overcome it, or what was the learning point that you got out of it?
I think for me, one of the biggest struggle I have is dealing with feedback. One issue is the sheer amount of feedback, because I really believe in learning and asking people for feedback, asking people for advice, be it investors, mentors, customers, other entrepreneurs, friends. So one challenge I have is that sometimes there are way too many people giving me feedback, and a lot of these feedback can contradict one another. So then
Right.
I will be so overwhelmed, for one, because as a human being, I think there is actually a quota on how much feedback you can take in 1 week. And also then how do I even deal with all these feedback? How do I make sense of them? So that's one challenge that I struggle with. So I'm still in the process of figuring out a way to deal with that. What I have preliminarily concluded is that I need to trust myself on my instincts and my decisions, focus on what I believe is the right direction, and realize that some of the feedback and advice can be noise if it's not something that I can control right now, or if it's not something that is aligned with the direction that I'm trying to go. Yeah. And I think something interesting that I read from Skin in the Game is a book by Nassim Nicholas Taleb, one of my idols. So he said, if someone's giving you advice, you have to think about whether they have skin in the game. Would they act on this advice that they just give you? Yeah. So that's something that I'm also taking in mind.
Right.
Yeah. When I get all this feedback and advice.
Then let's go on to like a flip side then. Like what was your greatest achievement then thus far? Or something that maybe like when you look back on, you'll be like, hey, I'm quite amazed that I actually accomplished something like that.
I would say as a startup, one of the things that we're really proud of is we managed to build out our platform in just 2 months. Yeah. So that was something that we really are quite proud of. Also, I think personally, another thing I'm very proud of is how we managed to go from giving flyers on the streets and being rejected. So we were actually at one point in time standing outside our Parkway Center where there are a lot of parents and students walking past to go to their classes. And then we were giving them flyers, asking them to sign up there, and then getting rejected. And then from there, we managed to build our mailing list in a few months to 1,000 moms who are looking for a solution for their students, for their kids. And their kids are all at the age where they are between P3 to P6. So I think that's something I'm personally quite proud of, because yeah, getting rejected was horrible. And managing to build a list of parents who are looking for solutions, and then from there we could actually convert them to be paying customers, or something that I was quite proud of. Yeah.
Right. So I think would you then advise someone to go into entrepreneurship?
Yes. But think through, please. Yeah. I will always say, yes, you should do it, but then you should definitely think through what is the risk you can take. What are you, like, how far are you willing to go? How much pain are you willing to take? Yeah, before you think through and decided that this is really something that you can actually tolerate and then you can move past, right? I think it's not very responsible to just start on it, especially working with someone else. Because imagine you have a co-founder and then you decided like 1 month, you're like, okay, I can't take this. Yeah. Yeah, I would say do it because you will really learn so much. Yeah. Personal development, how do you acquire users, how do you grow a business, how do you talk to people, you learn so much in such a short period of time.
Right.
But definitely consider what's the risk. For me, I did it right out of college because I know that I don't have student debt. So I think the biggest risk to me is opportunity cost. The whole idea of I could be doing a job that earns me this amount of pay. Yeah. And I think that's all right because I can just treat it as fees that I'm paying to learn. Yeah, still manageable because I don't have like loans, like HDB loans, need to like raise my kids, etc. So it's manageable risk. So even though my family were quite against it, I thought that it's manageable. Yeah. So then I could do this.
Then I think that this will move on to my next question, which is like, what quality do you feel an entrepreneur should have before they embark on this journey? Because I think ultimately entrepreneurship is not for everyone. So what is the main quality that you feel like is very, very important for an entrepreneur to have?
I would say greed. Yeah. Because I believe that, for one, we're an education company, right? I really believe that you can learn almost anything as long as you put your heart to it and with time. It's only, the matter is only the speed, right?
Right.
But what keeps you going, what keeps you continue to learn even though it's so painful is really greed. Can you stand out again after you suffer a really bad failure? Can you try again if you try to call a customer and this customer just downright hang up the call or like scold at you? Yeah, all the rejections, things that just doesn't seem to work out. Can you manage all this and still do it again the next day? Yeah, I think it will be great. Yeah, you need to have grit to be able to do this.
Do you feel that grit can be learned?
Yes. Yeah. I think for me, I feel like life is a process of finding out what is really your baseline and also how far can you go. Yeah. I think for every one of us, there is upper limit that we can keep pushing. And the way grit is that, right? Like how many more rejections can you get? How many more people telling you, oh, this is not going to work out? Can you handle? I think I'm finding out a new limit every week. Yeah. So how you can learn grit is basically you just have to try things and then fail and then realize, oh, I can survive this. And then over time, the things you try becomes bigger and bigger. The failures you experience becomes bigger and bigger and more painful. And then you realize, oh yeah, you're actually building out your grit. Yeah.
Right. I would like to end off this episode with like one final question. And I think like we sort of talked a little bit about it just now, but what is one advice that you will give like an aspiring entrepreneur?
I think this is one thing that I would tell myself 1.5 years ago is to manage your energy, not manage your time. Because as someone that just started my own entrepreneurship journey right out of college, I felt like I need to be working on my startup all day, every day. And then I had a mini burnout. And I realized it wasn't productive. I wasn't really bringing any growth that was very significant. So then I realized actually it's more important to manage your energy. What works best for you? You don't have to be working all the time. And sometimes even when you're not working, your energy might be low, but your brain is actually very active and that's when actually all the good ideas come. And that's what I've realized. Yeah. And I think that's one thing I would tell people. Yeah. I think, and also especially I think in Singapore, we have a workaholic culture, right? So I think as entrepreneurs, we can push ourselves even harder. So really manage your energy, not manage your time. Don't fill out all your time. Yeah.
But like, are there moments where like you felt like it's very difficult, right? Because on one hand, you know that you need to have a break, right? But on the other hand, you feel a bit like guilty for taking this break because, like it's your startup, like it's your product, right? How do you like balance it out?
It's a continuous process of calibrating. So there are definitely times where I feel guilty. But then I want to measure everyone's contribution in my company by their output, by the growth that they're bringing. So if I'm treating my my interns, my team this way, I should be fair and treat myself this way as well. Measure my own contribution in terms of the output and not the amount of time that I'm putting in, the amount of growth that I can bring, the number of new users that I can bring, and not the amount of things that I'm doing, like how many emails am I sending out, how many new content that I'm developing. Yeah, so I'm telling myself that helps.
Right. Thank you so much, Wong Lei, for taking the time to talk to me today. I think I really learned a lot.
Thank you.
Yeah. Hey, thank you.
That's great to hear. It was a great chat.
So that was the interview with Wong Lei. I think an interesting point for me personally to take home will be the idea of managing feedback. Oftentimes we might be told that we should listen to feedback and work on it. But what happens when we receive contradictory feedback, or if the feedback is too much that it becomes a little bit overwhelming? I think what we discussed in the podcast was quite interesting, where in the face of contradictory or overwhelming feedback, sometimes it might be better to trust your instinct and focus on what you believe is the right direction. Because personally, I believe that if it's your startup, you should know your business best. And also because you are the one that's deciding on the direction and the end goal that you want your startup to take in the future, I think you would be in the best position to sort of sometimes trust yourself and just take other people's feedback as possibly something to think through or something to consider before making decisions. So that's all from me for this episode. We have come to the end of this episode. I hope that this has been an insightful learning experience for you. Do follow us on Spotify and Google Podcasts to catch future episodes. Till then, take care.